Good morning, students. This is Asha, your social science teacher. So today will is part 2 lecture of chapter 1 Civics Equality. So before we start with the equality chapter, let's do a recap what we studied yesterday. Yesterday we did a bit of introduction of equality and the key features of a democratic government. Then we tried to understand why it is so important in a democracy and tried to find out the answer, do everybody in India equal? And we did that by a story of Kanta, right? We did study Kanta's story and came to know that there are so many inequalities in through her life and her employer's life. We studied about living condition, inequality in living condition, inequality in work condition, inequality in rich and poor, and inequality in health condition. That's all we discussed. And then we were on other kinds of inequality. The other forms of inequality which we commonly see in India is the caste inequality, and we will try to understand this caste inequality by a story of Om Prakash Valmiki. So children, Om Prakash Valmiki is a Dalit author and he has written an autobiography named Judhan, in which he describes what all he has gone through as a child just for being because he was from a lower caste. Dalit means broken. You must have studied in grade 7. And Dalit is a common term which is used for people from lower caste. If you are in a village, you can easily sense or feel the caste inequality. It is very common and very prevalent in interiors of India, especially villages. Om Prakash describes how as a child when he was in grade 4, how badly or how ill treatment was done with him. His classmates used to beat him without any reason. Unnecessarily he was beaten, he was bullied by other children. Even teachers, headmaster did not spare him. They did not take him equal like other children. Other children used to sit on bench or a mat, and he was never allowed to sit on a mat. He has to sit on ground, and many a times he has to sit outside the classroom. And why all this? Just because he was from a Dalit caste. He was from a lower caste. So he has to face all these indignities because of his caste. Once his headmaster asked him to clean the whole school as well as the playground. At that time, Om Prakash Valmiki was just in a grade 4, hardly a child of 7 or 8 years. He was too young and too small, whereas school building as well as the school ground was too big. And he describes how he was cleaning and he was too small for that ground to clean, and his mouth, hands all were full of dust, and he was not even allowed a glass of water. And this situation of cleaning the whole school and a playground continued for next 3-4 days, and he has to do, and his classmates used to look at him and laugh, and principal and the teacher, everyone was seeing what he has been made to do, but nobody did anything, and Om Prakash himself was too young to confront. Once it happened that his father was passing by and he saw all these things. He became really angry and he confronted the teacher, saying, "You cannot do this to my child, and as you are a teacher, I am leaving you. But don't worry, my son will still study here and many students from the Dalit community will come and study, and you will not be able to stop it." So this is just an expert from his autobiography. It tells us how prevalent and how strong casteism in India. and he has to face a lot of problems because of that. One such person which we can see is B.R. Ambedkar. He was from a Mahar caste, which is a low caste, and even he has to face so many difficulties just because of being from a low caste, but he did not hinder him. He studied and he went on to become, he's known as father of Indian Constitution, became the chairman of drafting committee, and it's because of him only there are so many provisions for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in our constitution. And even untouchability has been made a punishable offense because of B.R. Ambedkar's effort. So by the story we were studying about the village, but do you think this inequality thing exists only in villages? It does exist in metros, cities as well. And very common example is matrimonial ad. And how you can see educated people ask for specific caste groom or bridegroom. So it's not that village or poor people believe in caste, it's rich and educated people also are after caste and they ask for all these things. So it's very common in India. The next form of inequality which is very common is religious inequality. And before we move on that, here is some saying by B.R. Ambedkar. It is disgraceful to live at the cost of one's self-respect. Self-respect is the most vital factor in life. Without it, man is a cipher. That's the saying of B.R. Ambedkar. He believed that everyone should live with self-respect, and living without self-respect is a disgraceful thing. The next inequality on which we are going to concentrate today or study is religious inequality. Religious inequality is another form of inequality which is very prevalent in India, and we'll try to understand this by a story of Ansaris. Ansaris were new in a town and they were having good amount of money, and in a city they decided to look for a room for a rent, and they told their requirements to a broker, and broker said yes, there won't be any issue. If you're ready to pay, there won't be any issue. He took them to an apartment with the landlady, and everything went very fine, and they liked the apartment, they liked the everything of that apartment, and they decided to take that apartment for rent. But as soon as the landlady came to know about their surname, she started making excuses like, I can't rent an apartment to a person who eats non-veg. Whereas it was very absurd because they could smell fish being cooked in neighborhood. So that was a lame excuse. They left it, they went for another place, and then third and fourth. They looked for many apartments for rent, but everywhere they have to face one or the other story. They would refuse their room, giving some lame excuses just after listening to their surname. So at the end, broker said it's very difficult to get an apartment by your current surname. It would be better if you change your surname, and it will become easier for you to hire or rent a room. But they did not like it. Why should they change their surname? It took them a whole month to find a suitable apartment, and they were refused every time just because of their surname. And the broker asked them to change their surname to Mr. and Mrs. Kumar, which they did not like it. So this is one of the common form of inequality which we see in India, called religious inequality. Children, so let's do a quick recap what we studied. Today we studied two kinds of inequality. One is caste inequality and the second is religious inequality. We tried to understand the caste inequality through the story of Om Prakash Valmiki, and religious inequality through the story of Ansaris. And tomorrow we'll study recognizing dignity. Why dignity is so important and why we should respect everyone's dignity in our society. So that's all for today. Thank you.